Bertrand Arthur William Russell, born on May 18, 1872 in Ravens Manor near Trellick, Monmouthshire, England. His grandfather, Lord John Russell, twice served as British Prime Minister. His father, Viscount Amberley, was an atheist. In 1874, Russell's mother, Lady Amberley, died. In January 1876, Russell's father, the Earl of Amberley, died. Russell was the second son of this Whig family. His godfather was the philosopher John Stuart Mill. In 1890, Russell entered Trinity College, Cambridge University, where he studied philosophy, logic, and mathematics. In 1908, he became a Fellow of the Academy and was elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society. Russell opposed Britain's involvement in the First World War, for which he was fined and lost his teaching position at Trinity College. He was also sentenced to 6 months in prison in 1918 for his anti-war activities. On October 2, 1948, a small plane crashed, killing 19 people on board. But Bertrand Russell was unharmed. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1950 and was awarded the British Order of Merit. In 1967, the Stockholm War Crimes Tribunal was organized to condemn U.S. policy in Vietnam. Died at home in Wales in 1970. He is an advocate and organizer of the World Peace Movement. His major works include History of Western Philosophy, Philosophical Issues, Analysis of Mind, Analysis of Objects, etc. Russell not only made remarkable achievements in philosophy, logic, and mathematics, and he has made achievements in many fields such as education, sociology, political science, and literature. His philosophical thoughts changed greatly in his early and later periods. In his early days, he believed in neo-Hegelianism, believed deeply in the existence of absolutes and universals, and regarded mathematics as evidence of Plato's ideas. Many people regard Russell as a prophet of this era. Whenever fear invades their minds, they try to think of something else. They distract themselves with entertainment, work, or the like. Because I dare not face it, all kinds of fears become more and more serious. It is important to know that the variety of life is the source of happiness. For citizens in a democratic society, nothing is more important than gaining immunity to empty talk. Hobbies and temporary hobbies are not a basic source of happiness, but a means of escaping reality and a way to temporarily forget the unbearable pain. When the mind returns to the starting point, it has gained new enlightenment in the process. Neither character nor wisdom can develop fully or freely where the love of the teacher is lacking. This love consists chiefly in the feeling that the child is an end. A slave is doomed to worship time, fate, and death, because he cannot find anything more powerful in himself, and everything he can imagine can be swallowed up by these three things. Drunkenness is temporary suicide. Democracy is the process of selecting the person to be criticized. My life is exactly that. Make my career my joy and my career. We would like to propose 2 commandments of education. One is don't teach too many subjects, and the other is, whatever you teach, you must teach it thoroughly. Many people would rather die than think. In fact, they never think about it until they die. Under the conditions of modern life, laws are absolute, and any nation that does not value trained wisdom is doomed to failure. Along with worry, jealousy is perhaps one of the biggest causes of unhappiness. People are born ignorant, but not stupid. Instead, education makes people stupid. A wise person will never be disinterested in his own things just because others have other things. The ability to endure monotonous life should be cultivated from an early age. Modern parents are really to be blamed in this regard. They provide their children with too much negative entertainment such as movies, delicious food, etc. They do not understand the importance of ordinary life to children. He does not seek happiness in his own possessions, but seeks pain in others' possessions. People's complaints about others are often just natural selfishness and a reasonable response to greed that exceeds the normal range. The more cursed you are now, the more respected you will be in the future. A too strong ego is a prison. If you want to enjoy life to the fullest, you must escape from this prison. A person's emotional ups and downs are inversely proportional to his perception of the facts. The less you know about the facts, the easier it is to be emotional. Diversity is the source of happiness. Taking a long-term view is rational, but it is also depressing because beauty is always in the future, and there is always suffering in the present. Giving up some of the things you want is an integral part of a happy life. Memory and testimony are crucial to science. The main thing that prevents us from living a free and noble life is the obsession with wealth. The most fundamental shortcoming of fathers is that they want their children to bring glory to themselves. Every expertise you have can pave the way to happiness. People are virtuous because the temptations they receive are not great enough. Overconfidence can easily lead to destructive arrogance. One of the first signs of a nervous breakdown is the belief that your job is very, very important. There are 3 flaws in the knowledge of everyday life: self-righteousness, ambiguity, and self-contradiction. Kant said that he was not worried about being proven wrong, but he was worried about being misunderstood. The trouble in the world is that fools are overconfident and wise men are full of doubts. Of all moral qualities, good nature is the most needed in the world. All social inequalities, in the long run, are income inequalities. Most worries can be alleviated by recognizing that the things that cause anxiety are not important. We often ask whether we know this or know that, but we have not asked what knowing itself is. We are faced with a dilemma in which education has become one of the greatest obstacles to wisdom and free thought. Don't be absolutely certain about everything. We are born into this world twice, the first time to exist and the second time to survive. To understand an era or a nation, we must understand its philosophy. The environment in which people live plays a big role in determining their philosophy, but in turn, their philosophy plays a big role in determining their environment. Effect. When people live in the world, they mainly do 2 things. 1. Change the position and shape of objects. 2. Encourage others to do this. Why is it so much more effective to incite hatred with lies than to incite friendship? The more opportunities you have to be talked about, the more you want to be talked about. Ethics arises from the art of persuading others to make sacrifices in order to cooperate with oneself. A person who can focus his thoughts and hopes on things beyond himself will be able to find a kind of peace in the troubles of daily life, which is impossible for a pure egotist. Any philosophical thought has some real knowledge as long as it can justify itself. When the emotional frenzy calms down, a person with a habit of reasoning will look for logical support for his beliefs. When people engage in this kind of struggle, what they fear is not having breakfast the next day, but rather not being able to outdo their neighbors. There is so much fun to be had in useless knowledge. From the combination of great cognitive ability and selfless mood, intellectual wisdom is most likely to emerge. To understand a noun, you must be familiar with what that noun refers to. To be afraid of love is to be afraid of life. And those who are afraid of life are already half buried in the lows. What matters to philosophy is not the answers given, but the questions asked. Man must have both body and mind, and both must be trained. The biggest problem in this world is that fools and fanatics are pretentious, while wise people are full of doubts. Marriage is like a golden bird cage. Those on the outside want to get in, but those on the inside want to get out. All efforts, all dedications, all inspirations, all rising human geniuses throughout the ages are destined to perish in the boundless death of the solar system. Although death is a sign of the controlling power of nature, man is still free. Throughout the history of human civilization, when everything seems to be on the verge of extinction, there will always be some visionary and charismatic people who stand up to set things right. The world is full of amazing things, waiting patiently for us to be smart enough to discover them. He discovered that envy of others is difficult, but jealousy is easy. Precisely because he is unhappy, he can make excessive demands on others. Hunger is the universal spice that makes all food delicious. Beautiful appearance is like an open letter of recommendation. It can help us leave a good impression on others in the first place. All human knowledge is uncertain, inaccurate, and one-sided. A mediocre person only thinks about how to kill his time, while a slightly talented person plans how to use his time. True anticipation is ineffable, while what can be expressed in words participates in reasoning. Don't be afraid to have weird ideas, because all the ideas people accept today were once weird ideas. The increased happiness and increased productivity that can be achieved by cultivating an organized mind is astonishing. An orderly mind means thinking about something fully at the right time, rather than thinking about it intermittently all the time. It cannot be denied that the Chinese are to blame for not being able to produce honest and competent officials. The ethics of the Chinese have traditionally been less concerned with public obligations than with family values. An official must provide for his relatives, and if he is to be a clean and honest official, he must surely give up filial piety. This is the root of the problem. Therefore, for China to progress, the family system must be broken. Reasoning is seen as a sign of intelligence, showing that humans are superior to machines. A person's emotional state is often inversely proportional to his knowledge reserve. The more ignorant a person is, the easier it is to become arrogant. Cultivating an organized mind and thinking about one thing fully at the right time, rather than thinking about it intermittently all the time, is astonishing in its increased happiness and improved efficiency. The nature of society is that people eat people. If you have no ability, everyone will bully you, including your parents. Asking for something and not getting it is an indispensable part of achieving happiness. Anyone who asks you how you make a living upon meeting is calculating how much respect they have for you. Effort may not be seen, but rest will. It's not a waste of time if you can have fun in wasting it. The problem in this world is that fools are confident, but smart people are full of doubts. A person who can focus his hopes and thoughts on things beyond himself will find rest in the troubles of daily life. If you want to become strong, you must experience making a fool of yourself. The number of times you make a fool of yourself determines how strong you are. The more things a person is interested in, the more opportunities there are for happiness. When an intelligent person expresses a view that seems obviously absurd to us, we should not try to prove that it is somehow true, but rather to understand how it can appear to be true at all. Shielding power is a person's top ability. Anyone and anything that consumes you will be your fault if you take a second look. If you like two people at the same time, choose the second one, because if you really like the first one, you will never fall in love with the second one. Be sure to remember, don't tell others your plans, let them see the results directly. Don't even tell God what you really want to do. Wait until it succeeds. The biggest problem in the world is that fools and fanatics are always so confident, while wise people are always full of doubts about themselves. One of the characteristics of boredom is that there is a contrast between the current situation in front of you and other more pleasant situations circling in your imagination. Offending a few people and doing a few wrong things is actually not that terrible. Living a life of compromise and trembling is terrible. This kind of self-esteem can only be cultivated by developing an interest in objective things, stimulating activities, and achieving success. What you really want to do, don't even tell the gods, just do it quietly and talk about it after you succeed. Things will be accomplished if they are kept secret, while words will lead to failure. The desire for knowledge, the pursuit of love, and the irrepressible sympathy for human suffering. These three simple but strong passions have dominated my life. Love is freedom from loneliness. No one should hope that they are perfect, nor should they worry too much about not being perfect. It's not the work that kills you, it's the people you meet at work. You're doing 2 jobs for 1 salary, and you're being bossed around by 3 idiots. Good or bad is a goal, not a method. It is received love, rather than given love, that gives people a sense of security. Of course, most security comes from loving each other. All our love is in the grasp of death, which can strike down the one we love at any time. So we must never live our lives above narrow interests, leaving the meaning and purpose of our lives entirely at the mercy of accidents. There are some people who are hopelessly trapped in Schulf addiction. For them, external discipline is indeed a road to happiness. A wise man is always full of doubts, but a fool is steadfast. Feudal and conservative people get angry when they see deviations from tradition because they have no confidence in this tradition and regard such deviations as criticism and denial of themselves. It is a bad habit to focus only on the future and think that the whole meaning of the present lies only in what it will bring tomorrow. The foundation of a happy life is to have a certain ability to tolerate boredom. This is one of the required courses when a person is young.